Okay, welcome, welcome. So I hope you had the chance to read some of the handouts from last time. Did you give it to them, Chad, or no? Actually, Chad can just email them to you because I emailed, or Rachel can email them to you, so you'll have them handy. So you had some home play to do, homework. I call it home play because it should be fun. So how many did the home play? Okay, I didn't do my home play either, so it's okay. How many applied some of the techniques we talked about last time, like stop, breathe? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. You did?
I did.
Okay, so tell me, what did you do? Tell us.
I stopped and breathed before.
You stopped and breathed, okay. What else? Okay. Anybody found any specific stressful situation that you went through in the last week where you used some of the mindfulness techniques we used or we recommended last time? Or you just stopped and thought about your emotions or what's going on with your body or your mind? Don't be shy. Yes? You did?
I did.
Okay, so what happened? Give me an example.
Very stressful grandchild situation
Okay.
who states away. So you're hearing bad news from a child about
Oh.
a grandchild.
Oh,
Just took a few minutes, thought, and then reminded her to take a few minutes.
oh, okay, good,
and
good.
think and try to calm the situation down.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's an example. You can even teach other people to just take a deep breath and stop and think, you know, what they could do to relieve the stress. So because all what we're doing here is because stress is not going away, it's always going to be there. So all what we're doing is we don't want that stress to affect us in a negative way. That's the only thing you need to learn. So we don't want the stress to affect us in a negative way. And we talked about affirmations last time. How many used that affirmation? Okay. So what we're going to do today is ask few people. If you don't volunteer, I'll have to pick up some of you to say their affirmation. But we're going to say it in a different way. You say your name first. Like, I'm Chad, I'm a wonderful man, and mindfully taking care of my of my job or my children or whatever. Or I am Rachel and I'm a determined woman who is achieving her goals successfully, things like that. So you know your affirmation. Everyone said it last time, so start with your name and say your affirmation. I need 5 volunteers. Okay.
Affirmation, okay?
Yeah.
Brenda K. Montgomery. I will be positive every
So
day.
you said I am.
Oh, I am.
What's your name?
Brenda K. Montgomery.
I am Brenda. I am Brenda.
Brenda K. I will be positive every day.
I am
Spread
positive.
cheer and kindness to others so they can smile and reflect on good things in their life.
Wonderful. Instead of I will be, I am, because we said that an affirmation is always in the present.
Right.
So can you say it again louder with I am?
I am positive every day, and I spread cheer and kindness to others so they can smile and reflect on good things in their life.
Wonderful. Okay. Another example. Pink sweater.
Me?
Yeah.
I am Allison, and I'm exactly who I was created to be.
I am Allison and?
I'm exactly who I am, or who I was created to be.
Oh, wonderful. I'm exactly who I was created to be. Okay, wonderful. Who else would like to share? Gentlemen, one of you there. Okay, I'll pick you.
I am Brandon, and I'm sincere and honest to myself and others.
I'm Brandon. I'm sincere and honest to myself and others. Okay, that's good. Okay, we need two more. Yes.
I am here and I am enough.
You are enough. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. That's great. You know, that's what affirmations are for. The more you repeat them, the more you become your affirmation. And if you have a quality or a value, like we talked last time, that you want to enhance or to nurture, just put it in your affirmation and repeat it every day as if you're already becoming that, as if you're already having that quality fully. And that's how you create those new circuits in the brain, which we called neuroplasticity, if you remember last time. So we need one more. Yeah?
I focus on my family with faith, love, and gracefulness.
Okay, start with your name.
Oh, sorry. Lindsay.
I am Lindsay.
I'm Lindsay, and I focus on my family with faith, love, and gracefulness.
Okay, it's faith, love, and gracefulness. Thank you. Okay, that's wonderful. I read your evaluations from last week, and there were a lot of good things, and it looks like a lot of you learned several things. And I sent a reminder, like a paper. I don't know if you received it or not. I sent it to Chad and Rachel, so they will email it to you. And I put this is just your words, what some of you said. Very informative and very beneficial. I learned stress signals and management strategies. I really enjoyed the meditation and creating our own affirmations. A lot of you talked about how important was the affirmation for you. So probably 80 or 90% of you mentioned that they liked the affirmation process. I am worthy and capable of anything I put my mind to. All those are your words. I took them from the evaluations. I learned to be always positive, especially with my thoughts. So, I mean, these are good. What's important is to remember those. It's good to take the course and to remember it when you go out there, because we want to bring our mindfulness to our everyday life. If you just take the course and forget about it, it's not going to help you manage your stress well. So it is important to take those tools that you are learning, even if you take it step by step and do small things, every day. It's going to make a difference. Who took time to, let's say, meditate in the morning or in the evening, like for 5 minutes, just sit and breathe? Who did that, or how many? Okay, 1, 2, 3, okay. All right, that's important. If every one of you could do that, 5 minutes is not a lot of time. And everyone, who puts their mind to it could find 5 minutes to relax, take a deep breath, and reflect. Reflect on your day in the evening, or set an intention in the morning. Reflect, how do I want to show up in the world today? Okay, set your intentions in the morning. Okay, if you're somebody who is nervous and anxious, say, well, my intention today is to be calmer. Okay, and remember that intention during the day. Even if you remember it once, that's good. If you have difficulty remembering, the next day put an alarm on your watch, and every time the alarm rings, you remember, oh, what was my intention today? Sometimes I forget my own intentions during the day. So if you forgot your intentions in the morning, just create a new one during the day. Whatever is important at the time for you to be more relaxed. So remember that intention. And I say, oh, my intention today was to be calmer. So automatically you become calmer, because that's your intention, you decide to do, and you take the action. Because if you don't take the action, everything is going to stay, in the air somewhere. So you need to take the action and decide to become calmer, even if it takes 1 minute, even if it's for 1 minute, and then continue doing what you're doing. A couple of hours later, the alarm rings again, and you remember again your intention. And that's how you're going to build that mindfulness, like remembering who you are in the moment and remembering what you want to do in the moment, because that's what we said. Our thoughts are going to create our reality. So if our thoughts are negative, our reality is going to be negative. And we have the power to change our thoughts. Just by shifting our attention, we can change our thoughts. If you have negative thoughts all the time, stop, take a deep breath and say, okay, I had enough negative thoughts today. Let me see what I can find to something positive to think about or to focus on, even for 5 minutes or 1 minute. And slowly, every day, add another minute. And slowly, those negative thinking become positive. But it's going to take effort. It's not going to happen automatically. And you have the power to do it. If you don't do it, nobody is going to do it for you. And it has been proven scientifically, like we said last time, that it does work. Scientifically, it changes your brain. The MRI of your brain becomes more functional, like we said last time. It becomes more active in certain areas of the brain, the frontal area, the temporoparietal area, which are the center of emotional intelligence, communication skills, relaxation, empathy, compassion. So all those could be learned because we're not born knowing those things. So those things could be learned. So the recommendations that we talked, that I sent in that paper, is to write your affirmation on 3x5 cards and put them, everywhere, in your car, in your bathroom, on your mirror, in your bedroom, in your office. Give it to your friends so they remind you of your affirmation. Why not? You need to create a support group within your colleagues, the people who work with you. And that's the way it's going to improve the whole health of the community. You are a community. Most of you work in the same place. So it's good to create that support group for yourself and to support each other and to remind each other, okay, have you meditated today? Did you stop and took a breath today just to be calm? It's okay to do that. Don't be embarrassed. That's the only way you're going to create that healthy environment. And your organization, they're smart enough to have somebody like me come and teach you those skills because they want you to be healthier. They want you to deal better with stress. So you need to take the advantage of that, to take the next step to do that. So remember your self-worth. Last time we talked a lot about self-compassion, self-forgiveness, self-care. Self-care is not selfishness. A lot of people think, oh, I shouldn't think of myself. I should think of other people and put them as a priority. You could do that if you want, but that's not going to keep you healthy because eventually you're going to experience burnout. Eventually, there is something called empathy fatigue. You're so nice to other people that you forget yourself. You get exhausted at the end, you get burned out. And that's not what you want. Is that what you want? Or do you want to be healthier? Please interact with me. Say yes, no. So I feel like I'm doing something good. Okay, give yourself positive messages, like we said. Practice the SBNRR, stop, breathe, notice, reflect, and respond. So instead of reacting, if somebody, is triggering your nerves or somebody is making you upset, okay, stop, take a deep breath, decide how you want to react, how you want to respond instead of reacting. So once you decide how you want to respond and you start practicing that, then you're going to become more positive because reacting is usually an angry response. And the angry response is going to create what, like we said last time? Fight or flight response, yes. Fight or flight response increases your adrenaline, increases your blood pressure, makes you anxious, heart rate increases, so it's not healthy for you. Set daily intention, like we said, every morning, and then take your next step with awareness, understanding. Because if you set intentions but don't take actions, it's really not going to help. So actions follow intentions, and it's important to take those actions. Anybody has anything I forgot? Any recommendations? Anything you would like to add? And when you share, you are helping others too. So don't keep things to yourself. Go ahead, share it. There are no There are no stupid questions. There are no stupid answers. You know, it is what it is. Just say it. Say it out loud. Nobody is going to laugh, or because we all decided that we're supporting each other. So, okay. So we're going to start today. You know, we have a plan. So the plan is to, first we're going to start with a grounding meditation. So in a couple of minutes, we'll do just a grounding meditation to make you all become present. Then we'll talk about the 4 keys of mindfulness. Then we'll start setting intention and you know, taking more steps and more defined steps to set intentions every morning. Then we'll do an active listening exercise. You know, effective communication is important, whether between yourselves, with your other colleague, with patients, with your family members, your friends. So it's important to learn those active listening skills. Then we'll talk about resilience and burnout and what we can do to take care of ourselves and build resilience. And resilience is built, like we said, on all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So all of you are going to make a plan at the end of the session today to a self-care plan of each one of you on each level. And you can create an affirmation also for each level. So let's start with the grounding meditation. Just leave your pens on the table. Just relax, take a deep breath. Just keep an upward body position. And when you take a deep breath, just when you exhale, just let go of all what happened today or this week. And anything negative, just let it go. You can come back to it later. And every time you inhale, just inhale relaxation. Become aware of your feet on the floor. Become aware of your ankles, your legs, your knees, your hips. How deep are you sinking in the chair? Your back. If there is any tension there, just release it. Focus on your belly, expanding when you inhale and relaxing when you exhale. That breath that's going to give us life, that makes every moment important. Become aware of your shoulders, your hands, relaxed and heavy on your lap. Become aware of your forehead, relax the muscles. So anybody finding any difficulty focusing on the breath? That's why we say, like, focus on your belly expanding when you inhale. What's the difficulty you experience?
My mind just wanders. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I sit here and
No.
think, I need to be doing this.
Yeah, you don't need to be sorry. That's exactly what happens. When we become still and sit down to relax, that's exactly what happens. And that's why I said, you know, if your mind wanders, and it is going to wander, so you're never going to stop your mind. So people who say, oh,
I mean, I just think I need to be doing this.
Yeah, of
When I
course.
get home, I need to do this.
yes,
I need to
yes,
go to the grocery store. I need
that's
to-
normal.
you know,
That's normal.
I just start making lists in my mind of
Yes.
what I need to get done.
Yes, that's normal. That's exactly how everybody, what happens every time we start meditating. It happens to me all the time. And probably 50% of the time my mind is wandering during meditation. And that's okay. So there is no wrong way to do it. If your mind is wandering, okay, say, okay, I have to do this and this and this. Okay, I can come back to that later. Let me now focus on the breath. Just, it's a shift of your attention. Okay, you shift your attention to the breath. Maybe 1, 2 breaths, your mind start wandering again. It's okay. You get aware of it. You acknowledge it. Okay, my mind is wandering again. Okay, what do I have to do? And sometimes, if you have a pen, just write it down. Okay, I need to do this and this and this. At least it will go away from your mind for a while, and you can come back to it later, and then start focusing on the breath again. It may take a whole year for your mind to start quieting down, and that's okay. I mean, there is no rush, and it's going to happen all the time. So people who say, oh, with meditation you empty your mind, that's not right. It doesn't happen. You cannot empty your mind. Okay, all what you can do is refocus your attention on the breath. And why are we doing that? What's the reason we refocus our attention on the breath? We are training our attention, because when we train our attention to focus on the breath, the more we do it, the more power we have that, yes, I can. Instead of my mind dragging me wherever they want to drag me, I decide where I want my mind to be. So once you start doing that and creating those new circuits, so when during the day when you're working and your mind starts, going somewhere else, or you're getting upset about something, then you decide, because you trained already enough your brain, you decide how you want to be now in the moment, and how do you want to act now in the moment. So it's only a shift of awareness, shift or attention. So we're not stopping the mind. We don't want to judge the mind because the mind is active. No, it's normal. It's normal, and I'm glad you shared that, because everybody, I'm sure, experiences the same thing. Is anybody doesn't have those, mind chatter or monkey mind that we call it? Anybody doesn't have that? No, probably everybody has it. So what was your difficulty?
Same thing that you said. I had to be thinking of my present, not what I have to do at the end of the day or tomorrow.
Yeah,
I have to be
of
mindful
course.
of my present.
Of course, and that's normal. And believe it or not, even when we're awake, not necessarily meditating, 50% of the time we are not in the present. They did statistics. They found out that 50% of the time people are or thinking about the past, ruminating about the past, regretting about the past, or worrying about the future, or what's going to happen, or I need to do this, I need to do that. 50% of the time. Can you believe it? I mean, as a surgeon, if I spend 50% of my time not paying attention to what I'm doing, it's catastrophic. So it is important. And of course, I trained myself over and over and over for years to be able to focus. It doesn't mean that my mind doesn't shift sometimes or drift. It does, but I'm always bringing it back to the moment, to what I'm doing now. So it is okay. It is important, and don't judge it. There are no wrong way to do meditation. As long as you're aware of it, you take the steps to correct it and to decide yourself where you want your mind to be. So, and that's what brings us to the 4 keys of mindfulness. Mindfulness is consciously attending to the present moment with wisdom and clarity, initiating actions in alignment with our values. So there is present moment, there is wisdom because we're learning from our mistakes, clarity because we are deciding, where we want our mind to be, what is my next step going to be, what is my next action going to be, and initiating actions, because if you don't initiate those actions, nothing is going to happen. And we talked about values last time and why they are important. So mindfulness is much more than learning to be present in the moment. It's the ability to be present with clarity and discernment. Discernment because we want to know what is it that we're doing that is not in alignment with our values. So the more we're aware of that, the more we're going to decide how we're going to act, in the next. And it doesn't mean that we're going to be perfect. Nobody is going to be perfect. You're always going to commit mistakes. You're always going to be imperfect because you're humans and I'm human. So we're never going to be perfect. So it's important not to judge also. Part of the mindfulness is being in the moment and not judge the moment with whatever it is. You know, if my mind is wandering, I don't want to judge my thoughts and my mind. If my back is hurting, I don't want to judge my back. It's okay if you have back pain during meditation. Just observe it, become aware of it. If I'm getting restless, you know, and angry and you know, it's like it doesn't help, and it doesn't seem it's helping me. It's okay. Acknowledge that, and then refocus on the breath. You know, refocus on what you want to focus on. So this is important. And so the 4 keys of mindfulness, like we said, are attention and intention. So we are focusing our attention and training our attention to become first more present and to learn to focus on the moment and on what we want our mind to focus on. So we don't want our mind to drag us all the time. It's going to drag us sometimes, and that's okay. And if it drags us all the time, like you shared, we're going to train it again and again and again to become better and better. The second key of mindfulness or pillars is values. We talked about that last time, and we did exercises with that. The wisdom is, it has many things. First, it is like learning from our mistake. Second is discerning, you know, what are the actions that are helping me and what are the actions that are not helping me become healthier or become less stressed out. So wisdom is important. And then the open heart, you know, it's about loving kindness, compassion towards ourselves first, and then towards others. So we're going to talk a little bit more about each one of them. So by challenging ourselves to focus our and control our attention, which means we tell our attention where to focus on, we can potentially attend to the important and meaningful aspects of our life. So if we decide where I want my attention to be, then I can prioritize. Then I can know which is the most important to me at this point to do, because most of the time we have many things we want to do. So it's important to start, you know, having that clarity is like, where do I want to focus first? So I do this first, then I do this second, then I do this third. So it's important to do that. And and intention, like we said, it is important to set your intentions. And intention is making a personal declaration to ourselves about how we choose to be or how we choose to pay attention to in the day ahead or in the moment. So intentions are very important. And the way I recommend that usually we start our day when we start doing mindfulness practice is the first thing when you wake up in the morning, think about something you're grateful for. So gratitude is on top of the list. The second thing is to do the breathing exercise. Even if it's 5 minutes, just do breathing exercise. You can start with 1 minute. Focus on the breath. Mind wanders back to the breath. The third thing is to set intentions for the day. What is it my intention for today? How do I want to show up in the world today? Do I want to show up with anger, resentment, upset, sadness, or do I want to show up with an intention to be calmer, intention to be happier, intention to be helpful to myself and others? So intention is very important to set up. Anybody has any questions about intention or attention? Okay, so like we said, it is an intentional strategy of living. So when we decide how we want to live, you know, that we are making a strategy for ourselves and our life. How do I want to deal with this situation? How do I want to deal with this person? You know, how do I want to, maybe this time I didn't do so well, how do I want to deal with it next time? So it's important to have those intentions clear in our mind. Clarifying our intention is empowering. In fact, you know, because you become like the master of your destiny. You know, you decide what you want to do with your life, and then you go on and you go ahead with it, and you take your next step over and over again. So last time we did like an exercise, and And I want to do that exercise again, just for 2 minutes. Just close your eyes. Again, take a deep breath. And think about what is it that I value deeply at this time of my life. What is it that I value deeply at this time of my life? Just think about that for a moment. What's really important? What's really important for you at this time of your life? It could be taking care of yourself. It could be taking care of someone else. It could be having a better job. It could be having less stress in your life. What is it that you value deeply at this time of your life? It could be you value your friendship with other people. You value your role as a mother or a father. You value your job, as a helper to other people. So just focus on that important thing you value. And what is it in the depth? Ask yourself, what is it in the depth of my heart that I wish for myself, for my loved one, and for the world? So what is the message that you want to give yourself, your loved one, and the people around you? What message you want to give them, whether with your words, your actions, your wishes? And if you have an answer, if you don't have an answer, that's okay. If you have an answer, just open your eyes, write down what is it that you value deeply, and what do you wish for yourself, your loved one, and the world. Just take a couple of minutes to write that down. And remember that intention is always deliberate because you decide. It's a conscious goal. Motivation comes from the inside. Intention needs motivation to be achieved, but motivation sometimes people may have it, people may not have it. But intention is always a conscious goal. So you decide how you want your intention and what you want your intention to be and how you want your next step to be. So just write down what you value deeply and what you wish for yourself and others. So last time we talked about values, and values, the source of finding inner peace and genuine happiness is living a life that is in alignment with our values. Because most of the time, we are attached to stimulus-driven pleasures from outside, like a good meal, a good relationship, nice job, nice house. And there's nothing wrong with that. But most of us depend so much on that we forget what genuine happiness is. Because those things may go away anytime. And that's one source of wisdom, is to realize that things are impermanent. The only thing which is not impermanent is the values that are coming from inside of you. And the kindness, the forgiveness, the service to other people. Those are things which are going to make you happy because they don't depend on anybody else or anything else. So it's important to remember that, and that's one source of wisdom. So our values are the direction we choose to head on. Our intention is the path to walk along. So our intention is going to set the course to go toward those values. Our values are like a lighthouse. Every time you go away from your values, you remember the lighthouse, and then you go back on the path. You set your intention, you take the next action, which is going to bring you on the path, because staying on that path is going really to bring you that light, that happiness, which coming from inside of you and not from something from the outside. So that's something important to remember, that our happiness depends really on what's coming from inside of us, not only from what's coming from the outside. I mean, if coming from outside is great. I love a good meal. I love to have a nice house. I love to have a good job, a nice car, a good family. I mean, nothing wrong with that. It's all perfect. But it is important to realize that it's not enough. So what's really going to create that genuine happiness is what's coming from the inside. And the wisdom, like we said before, is bringing discerning awareness to what's happening in our life. Okay, what am I doing that's in alignment with with my values? What is it that is not? What is it I'm doing that is creating really relaxation and genuine happiness? What is it I'm doing that's stressing me out? And how am I going to deal with that, or shift my awareness, or use some skills to be able to become more relaxed? So that's all what we're doing here, just learning the skills to shift our awareness from unhappiness to happiness, genuine happiness, from stress to more relaxation. And like we said last time, you know, our sympathetic system is always active because we're always working, stressing out, stressed out, worrying about something, angry about something. And the only way to bring the parasympathetic system into action, to relax, is to take that time out for ourselves. Take that minute to stop and breathe and slow down and then keep going. Does that make sense? Okay. And now the fourth key, like we said, attention, intention, values, wisdom, and the open heart. So the fourth key of mindfulness is the open heart. And it is bringing loving kindness and compassion to yourself and to the world. And we call them cultivate the four immeasurable, because they're immeasurable because you can't measure them. You can't measure compassion or loving kindness or joy or empathy or service. I mean, you cannot measure those. So you have in your handouts one called the Four Immeasurables. So I need 4 volunteers, each one to read one paragraph. And before we do that, the 4 immeasurables are equanimity, loving kindness, compassion, and empathetic joy. Who knows what equanimity is? Took me a while to understand it, because the first time I heard it, I didn't even know what it was. Never heard the word before. And it was only 3 years ago, so it's not too long. So what is equanimity? Just whatever comes to your mind, say it.
Being equal?
Being equal? Yeah, being equal, like stable, yeah. I mean, it's part of it. What else? Finding that balance with your life, yes. Be open and be at peace. I love that. Because equanimity, like I said last time, I think, I'm not sure, but just Rachel shared it with us, is keeping that stillness, like the depth of the ocean. It's always still, although there are a lot of waves raging at the surface. So your mind may be working, your mind may be worrying about this, worrying about that, but your inner self, you're on the inside, you are peaceful. So although you are, a lot of things to do, this person is making you upset, etc., it's going to stay here because it's not going to affect your inner peace. Okay, this person is irritating me. How do I choose to respond? I don't want it to bother my inner peace. That's the only thing we're doing. Stress is going to stay. Annoying people are going to stay. Annoying situations are going to stay. All what we need to do is learn how to deal with it without disturbing our inner peace. And that's exactly what equanimity is. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's read this just as an introduction, and then we'll continue explaining each one of them. Okay, who hasn't shared yet?
I can read the first paragraph.
Yeah, can you read the first one, please?
How wonderful it would be if all beings were to abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May they abide in this way. I shall do my best to cultivate equanimity in my life so I may help them to abide in this way. May each breath I take be mindful, creating the conditions to do so.
Yeah, I love that. So, actually, I forgot the part about free of bias and attachment. So that's important too. You know, we are, you know, human who are judging others all the time, or judging situation. That's normal. So it's okay to be critical about yourself, other people, but don't really make it like a habit. Every time you realize that you're judging yourself or other people, you know, choose to become more understanding, more accepting of wherever our differences are. You know, you may not agree with that person, and you may have a different opinion, but you still have to respect what they believe in and what you know. And I know it's not easy. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to do. But it's also something we need to practice, something that we need to, you know, to be able to make this world a better place, because this world is full of violence, a lot of poverty, a lot of inequality in the world, a lot of power struggle. I mean, it's scary what's going on in the world. So if us are not going to do something about it, who is? Who is? I mean, you know, especially young people here, you are the future. So it's important to learn those skills to be able to bring peace, bring understanding, bring equality, free of bias, free of judgment, free of anger, you know, learn how to learn equanimity, learn how to deal with stress in a more positive way, how to respond instead of reacting. So all that is important and part of equanimity. Okay, who would like to read the second paragraph? Yes?
How wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and its causes. May they have these. I shall do my best to cultivate genuine happiness and its causes in my own life, so I may help them have these. May each breath I take be mindful, creating conditions to do so.
Yeah, and I like that last part, may each breath I take be mindful. Because even if we don't learn anything today, just going out and be mindful that each breath I take, you know, I want to be nice to someone. Each breath I take, I want to bring happiness to myself and someone. Each breath I take, you know, I want to have understanding or acceptance. Just by practicing that. I mean, and it doesn't have to be each breath, but it's just at least remembering that. You know, every time you remember to take a deep breath, just take a second to think, okay, you know, what is that breath reminding me of? You know, what, you know, like maybe send a prayer to all those people who do not have enough food to eat. You know, sometimes there is not much we can do except wishing them good or praying for them. Just that thought sometimes will help. Believe it or not, you know, when they have those prayer circles around the world, you know, for prayer day or happiness day, or I don't know what they call the day, you know, they held hand all over the world. I mean, it's amazing. And you can't imagine how much positivity that creates in the world. I mean, there are so few positive people in the world, but those few have a higher vibration, and that higher vibration, each one of them can balance the negative vibration of thousands of other people. So that's why it's important to bring that positivity to ourselves and others, because we're not only helping ourselves, we're helping all those thousands of people that are miserable or are unaware of how they can make their life better. So at least we'll send them some positive energy, we'll send them some prayers, we'll send them some healing light. I don't know, there is a way of communicating with others that is not necessarily only on the physical level, but on other levels. I mean, that's at least what I believe in. So, and there was a study done about that, believe it or not. There is always a study somewhere, because as a scientific mind, you know, I have to be convinced about those things I'm teaching. This is a psychiatrist called Hawkins, not Stephen Hawkins, the other Hawkins. I mean, he was a psychiatrist. Stephen Hawkins was a physicist, I think. So anyway, he did a study with thousands and thousands of people. I don't know how he did it, but he measured the level of vibration of each person. And he found out that 80% of the people have a level of vibration, like they call it 200. So anybody below 200 is just a regular person, you know. And the higher you go into vibration, like somebody like you who is helping others, who is aware of what's going on, who is attending this kind of training, have a level of energy 300. And the first time I gave that talk was for my Rotarian friends, because Rotarian, you know, their motto is service above self. So Rotarians have a higher level of vibration because they always try to help others. And then he said, you know, each one of those people at 300 vibration, each one of them can balance the negativity of 1,000 or 4,000 people. Then he went up 400 vibration. And the people who are like really, you know, like saints, or people who pray all the time, or people who are in, you know, in I lost the train of my thought. Monasteries, okay? People who are in monasteries, they're praying all the time. Sometimes we think, oh, why don't they get involved and come and help others? But in fact, just with their prayer and their level of vibration, each one of them can balance the negativity of like 1 million people. And then the people 500 and above are very rare, and I don't know, probably like the Dalai Lama or some other avatar, and they can balance the negativity of millions of people. And I don't know how he did the study, but I believe it because, or else, I mean, if we don't have those people balancing those negativity, how is our world still you know, alive and working? Because if we have only negativity in this world, probably it will explode. I mean, that's at least what I think. So there is a level of positivity in the world that is balancing all that negativity around us. And unfortunately, for every 10 negative messages you get only one positive message, whether it's in the news or in life or with, you know, with work or whatever. So it is important to keep focusing on that level of positivity, because we are helping the world become a better place just by being positive ourselves. Okay, who's going to read the third paragraph? One of the guys here. You're going to read it. Yeah.
How wonderful it would be if all beings were free from suffering and its causes. May they be free. I shall do my best to cultivate compassion and its causes in my life, so I may help them to be free of suffering. May each breath I take be mindful, creating the conditions that do so.
Okay. So that's compassion. So compassion is helping people, you know, get free from suffering. And of course, we cannot help everybody to be free of suffering. We just do our best to be free of suffering. And compassion always starts by oneself. That's why I keep always focusing on that, because it's wonderful to help others and service above self and things like that. But I believe, you know, if you're a Christian, you know that Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. He didn't say better than yourself. So you need really to love yourself, because you're a divine being too. So if you love yourself enough, then you can love other people. If you help yourself enough, then you can help other people. If you're compassionate about yourself, because sometimes we're our own worst enemy. We judge ourselves so harshly because we're not perfect, you know, and we want everything to be perfect. I mean, I was a perfectionist at one time, and I experienced burnout. because we can never be perfect. I mean, we can do our best, we can reach excellence, but it's never going to reach perfection. So it's good to admit that to yourself and accept yourself just the way you are. I mean, your 10% or 90% is different than your 10%. So your best may be at 10% equal to her best at 90% because you're two different people. So whatever you're doing, just appreciate yourself for who you are and what you're doing. Even if you think it's small, but maybe that small for you is your best, is like your 100%, and that's okay too. It's like a person who has $20 and they give $5 to charity. How much did they give? Almost 25%, and somebody has $1 million and gives $10,000 to charity. Who gave more? The one who had the $20. So as I said, just acknowledge yourself. Self-compassion, Dalai Lama said the circle of compassion is not complete until you are part of it. So it's important to have self-compassion to be able to have compassion toward others, and also to avoid, empathy fatigue and things like that. Do you have a question? Okay, then you're going to read our last one.
How wonderful it would be if all beings were living with empathetic joy, rejoicing in these virtues of others. May they find such joy. I shall do my best to cultivate empathetic joy in my life, so I may be able to help them abide in this way. May each breath I take be mindful, creating the conditions to do so.
Okay. So do you know what empathetic joy is? I mean, it's a little bit more than empathy. Empathy is like walking a mile in the shoes of the other person, understanding them, etc. Compassion is a little bit more one step, like relieving their suffering. Empathetic joy is a little bit different, and it does explain it here. Rejoicing in the virtues of others, which means if somebody has a good fortune, instead of being jealous or envy or having envy, just be genuinely happy for them. If somebody is building a hospital for others, just be genuinely happy for them, because they're expressing their joy, they're expressing their generosity toward other people. So empathetic joy is, and also it doesn't have to apply only to material thing. It applies also to qualities. If somebody has a lot of qualities, sometimes we envy them. I mean, it's a human nature. Oh my God, they think they're the best or something. So we can shift our attention and say, my God, they have great qualities. Of course, I wish I could have those qualities, but I appreciate them for who they are and those qualities they have. Because people are different. Some people have really a lot of qualities, some people don't, and that's okay. But acknowledging their qualities and what they're providing and offering to the world is a good thing, feeling genuinely happy about that. And of course, once you are genuinely happy about that, you're already offering appreciation and gentleness and loving kindness to this world. That's, I don't know if I said that last time, compassionate active listening. I put it in my book. I have a book called Burnout Engagement. And if anybody wants a free copy, I'll send you a PDF. Just send me your email, or send Rachel your email, and I'll send you the copy. So Herbert Benson, is a cardiologist from Harvard, and he's the one who started mindfulness with John Kabat-Zinn. I think we talked about that last time, and they started that Mind-Body Institute. And he said, health has a stool with three legs. One is, medicine and medications. One is procedure, and he added the third one is self-care. So if the patient is not responsible enough to take care of themselves, then you cannot really help them just with medications and doing procedure. So it's important to teach our patients self-care, teach ourselves first self-care, and then teach our patients self-care. But in my experience, in the last 20, 30 years, I found out that listening is much more important to patients and to people than anything else. Compassionate listening, which means when you care enough for them to listen what they're saying, even if they're talking about something which is not related to their symptoms. What's the time the patient gets interrupted when they're talking to their provider? What's the time? What's the time they get first interrupted when the patient starts talking? Huh? Actually, yes, it's like 8 seconds. So the patient really doesn't feel heard at all. And how long does it take to? Actually, you're right. It's not 8 seconds. It's 20 seconds. And do you know how long the patient needs to be listened to feel heard?
1 minute.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. I mean, that's not much, So if you give that patient who is talking just 2 minutes to listen to them, 50% of them will become better just from you listening to them. Because statistics have shown that 50% of the time, patient has some psychosomatic illnesses, anxiety, stuff that they need to talk to someone, and they don't have someone they trust enough to talk to them. And their physician or provider is really somebody who is going to keep their confidentiality. So it's important to take those 2 minutes to listen. And that's why I added a fourth leg for the stool to make it more stable, and it's called compassionate listening. So you need to teach them self-care, you give them medication, but you need also to listen to them. So compassionate listening is very important. And the best gift you could give to someone, whoever that one is, whether it's a friend who is, has a problem, a family member, a colleague, it's important to really listen to them instead of what do we do usually when we listen to someone? What do we do in our mind?
We're already fixing the problem.
Yeah, we're already fixing the problems or jumping to conclusions or deciding what we want to say next, instead of really listening. So that's what we're going to learn and during this exercise is to shut our mind, open our heart, and just listen. So the other person has a full 5 minutes just to talk about anything they want. And then we'll shift, okay? So we open our heart to them, give them our full attention. Sometimes, you don't want to stare at them, but you still want to keep eye contact. You want to acknowledge what they're saying so they know that you're listening to what they're saying. Sometimes if you have a question, you can ask a question just for clarification, not to fix them, not to solve the problem, just for clarification. It's like what they call perception checking. Like, I heard you say this and this, is that accurate? And sometimes they say, yes, it's accurate. Sometimes they say, no, that's not what I meant. That's what I meant. And then you let them talk some more. So it is important to learn those active listening skills. So listening really includes attending to the words, the gestures, the tones of voice. Sometimes their body may tell you something that their words are not telling you. So you need to be open to that. Sometimes you may see tears in their eyes, so you know that they're expressing emotions. So you need to be aware of that. So you need to read them, without necessarily, telling them what you're reading, but you need to read them, their emotions, their body language. If they're like this means they don't really to share with you. So if they're like this and they're open and they start tearing up, that means they trust you enough to be vulnerable. And it's okay, any way you do it is okay as long as you feel comfortable doing it. So there is a saying that I love, and I learned that several years ago, and I never forgot it. And what it said, what you are or who you are, screams so much at me that I'm not listening to what you're saying. This means, if your attitude, is so positive towards me, so whatever you're saying is not going to make any difference, because I'm going to love you anyway and listen to you because you're opening your heart to me. That's what it meant in a way. I don't know if those are the proper words, but that's what it's way. Who you are is screaming so much, so I'm not listening to what you're saying. So it doesn't matter what you say when you want to talk to someone. It's important to be with them. Just be with them. So your attitude, your open body position, your affection is going to be more important than the words you're going to say. So I never forgot that, and I remember it most of the time. So you need to show empathy, of course. You need to be genuine, like we said, because you want to be honest, open, and also you want it to be concrete, which means you want to have clarity of what they are saying. So if there is something they're vague about or they're not expressing well, it's okay to ask a question in a gentle way, like, I heard you say this and this. Is that what you meant? And they may say no. So now you're going to choose one partner you haven't worked with before. Turn your chairs towards each other and get ready to start the exercise. Thank you. So the purpose of this exercise is to remind us that we are souls having a human experience. You can follow the sheet that gave you. That calming and focusing our mind empowers us to move forward in life with more joy, fulfillment, and self-confidence. So how to do the exercise? First, remember that the person in front of you is a divine human being and has all the answers inside themselves. Second, remember, you are much more than your body, your thoughts, and your emotions. You are a soul having a human experience, a center of pure, loving awareness. Third, take a deep breath and relax before you start the exercise. Then invite your partner. So one of you is going to start. So raise your hand if you're the one who's going to start in your duo. Who's going to start? Okay, so the one who's going to start first is going to invite your partner to share a recent experience where they found themselves experiencing emotional upset and getting out of balance. Okay? Where they found themselves experiencing emotional upset and getting out of balance. Listen with loving awareness, complete acceptance, no judgment of the other's experience, no advice giving. Keep an open body position, soft eye contact. If any distracting thoughts come, acknowledge them and let them go. The same, if your mind starts wandering, just take a deep breath, bring your attention back to the person in front of you. Use paraphrasing or perception checking, like we said, to get more understanding of what they're saying. Because sometimes if they hear you saying, what they just told you, they may see it better, understand better, say, no, that's not what I meant. Or yeah, that's exactly what I meant. So be aware of that. And at the end, check them if they are complete with the session. So each person will have 5 minutes to share. And once the 5 minutes are over, I'll clap and then the other person starts. Okay, so no side talking. The person who's listening keeps silent all the time, and only the client, what we call the client, is the one who's going to keep talking. Okay, if 5 minutes is too much, we can make it 3 minutes. So 3 minutes is enough? Okay, let's make it 3 minutes, okay? And then at the end we have time to share. So, the person who wanted to start, the one who raised their arm, go ahead and start. So what did you learn? I need 5 people to share did you learn from this exercise.
To have to really not, because of our age difference, to have to completely listen without trying to interject something before she was finished saying what she had to say.
Okay, good. So you listened well, you said. You didn't give any advice.
Not until she was done. But no, I mean, just when you've lived a little bit longer.
Right, right. You have more experience, more wisdom. Yeah, I understand.
Wisdom, but
Understand.
so
You know.
something that was, just to completely listen without
Right.
interjecting anything until
Yeah.
they're done what they need to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's wonderful. And of course, I mean, when you're talking to a friend, it's okay to give, some sharing your experience, not necessarily advice, but sharing your experience, but always ask permission. May I share something with you? And you can give, say whatever you want to say. But for this, just for the sake of this exercise, that's why I told you not to give any advice, just to learn to sit down and listen and just open our mind. So, what did you learn? You're always looking at the paper.
Okay, so I'm reading, trying to soak it in again. I kind of was the same way as Terry. I wanted to fix.
Aha, yes. We usually like to fix others. Yeah, that's a normal, human habit, and it's okay. But you got aware of it, and you didn't fix her. Yeah.
I want to fix and I guess a hug to fix.
Yeah. I understand. You are going to feel empathy. You are going to feel, some loving to the other person, and that's okay. But before you hug her, ask permission. Because some people like physical contact, some don't. So it's okay, and I understand, how you felt, and that's okay too, as long as you're aware of it and when you decide when it's appropriate to do this or that. So you're going to decide for that. So that's good.
Well, me and Kristen, we work together a lot, so I think we have a lot of the same frustrations at work or same stressors, just with patients and just daily work stuff. So, but it is good to hear from someone else the same things, but from a different perspective. Makes you think about it a little bit differently as well, but it is hard to not respond.
Yeah, it's okay. You're going to learn a lot from the other person. And sometimes you only find out that, oh my God, everybody is dealing with the same problem. I remember when I took my it was 2 years of psychology classes. We met every weekend, and there are a lot of sharing, out loud sharing. And after a while, you realize that, oh my God, everybody is going through the same things I'm going through. And when I started, I thought I was the only one going through this. I was ashamed of myself sometimes. How can I think this way, or why, And after a while, you realize, look, everybody is doing the same thing. Everyone. So don't think you're alone, struggling or having different emotions or something you're ashamed of or you're not proud of. So it's okay. We're human. It's okay to be to make mistakes. It's okay to feel that sometimes we're not perfect the way we like to be. We're never going to be perfect, but yeah, it's okay to be aware of that, to be aware of our weaknesses, but being aware of our emotions, and I like this one, and taking responsibility of them is the first step to healing. Because once we acknowledge that we're human, we're not as bad as we think we are, then we start healing. And everybody probably is going through the same thing. Everybody is having same issues. Everybody is human in a way. So once you realize that, it becomes easier on everyone. And I remember I gave a workshop for residents, and it was called the Healing Arts Workshop. And what's interesting is at the end of, it was like a 5-week workshop, every week like 2 hours. What's interesting with at the end when they filled the evaluation, most of them said, I was relieved to find out that everybody had the same issues I have. Everybody had the same problems I have. Everybody was dealing with the same things I have been dealing with. Because, you know, resident medical students, they don't talk to each other. They're always afraid, you know, there's always competition, and they don't want to look weak, and that's our problems, you know, as physicians, medical school, probably nursing school, maybe other schools also. But when they start sharing at this intimate level, the group was only like 8 people every time. They start opening up a little bit more, and with the evaluation, I was pleasantly surprised actually to find out that, yeah, you know, everybody was going through the same problem, and they felt so much relief at the end, and they felt much better, and they started making new friends, and they started, because that's also cause burnout. When you cannot talk to anyone, you know, it causes burnout. You need to have at least one good friend to talk to, or one good person to talk to. So, so can we have one more sharing? You're smiling, so no, you don't want to share. Did you learn something from the exercise? Just one word. What did you learn? One word. One word. Oh no. Okay, you can share.
Oh, with us, we had similar experiences dealing with loss of loved ones. So we both were compassionate towards one another. So we both, I think, could feel what each of us had felt before losing a loved one with cancer. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because grief is also something very important. And in that Healer's Art program for residents and medical students, there is actually 2 sessions on grief, because physicians, nurses, whoever, they're afraid to express their grief. They're afraid to admit that they made a mistake and somebody died or a patient died. And it may not be a mistake, it may just like happen, but they think it's their responsibility, and they don't talk to each other, they don't talk to anyone, and that creates burnout. So expressing grief is so important. And like you said, you know, somebody who understands somebody, and you felt compassionate towards each other because you had the same experience. It's so important to express grief. So if you're grieving, and before we gave that Healer's Art program, we had to take it ourselves. And I flew to California to do it. And the lady who gave it, her name is Rachel Naomi Remen. I don't know if you heard of her. She wrote, she's a physician who had experienced Crohn's disease and a lot of problems herself. She was a pediatrician. She wrote several books. One of them was my grandfather's treasures or something. So she had good books to read. And when we talked about the grief, I remembered a friend of mine who died during the war in Lebanon. He was shot by a sniper. He was a physician, and he was at the hospital doing his job, and he went up to his car. And that was in 1986 maybe. And I took the course in 1994, and I thought I was over it. And then when the thing about grief started, I couldn't stop sobbing. I couldn't, because I didn't have the chance to say goodbye. I mean, that was like I still remember it. I mean, I kept on sobbing. So they felt sorry for me after a while. I mean, I know they had a lot of empathy, but I didn't realize I had so much sadness inside of me, and which has not been expressed, you know. Like when I knew he died, I was in Chicago doing my residency. And I remember I went and walked. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I went and walked near the lake, and of course cried as much as I could. And I thought, you know, I was done with it, but I was not. So it's okay to talk to someone about grief. It's okay to express your grief. It's okay to cry, to feel your emotions. I mean, with mindfulness, we're not stopping our emotions. We're just getting aware of it. We're acknowledging it, we're expressing it, and then we're moving forward. So that's my experience. So what we're going to talk about next is about the burnout and resilience. And I remember we talked about burnout last time. So anybody remembers what are the symptoms of burnout? You can shout it out. Tiredness, yes. What else? So what is burnout? So we said it's actually a syndrome of chronic stress. So chronic stress causes burnout. So the first one is cynicism, you know, or irritability. Like the patient becomes another number. You know, I remember when when we were residents, you know, even without burnout, I think when we were doing rounds, we say, okay, let's go to room so and so, or let's go and see the patient with a bladder tumor, or with, you know, we never mentioned the name of the patient. I mean, that's so so impersonal. So it is important to treat people, you know, like human beings. And cynicism is one of the symptoms of burnout, like we don't care who is in that room. Okay, I'll go and just do my job, whoever it is, put the Foley, remove the Foley, whatever, put the IV, remove the IV, and keep moving. So that was one of the symptoms of burnout. The other one is, like we said, tiredness, exhaustion, emotional and physical. Sense of low personal accomplishment. Sometimes you feel like, although you're doing the same thing that you were doing before, but you feel like you're not making any difference. Or maybe just it's a feeling that you're not making any difference. Maybe in fact you are making a difference, but you're not feeling it inside. You lose your enthusiasm, motivation for your job. And of course your effectiveness is going to decrease in your job. So those are some of the symptoms of burnout. Burnout is a syndrome which is like multiple symptoms. So like we said last time, excessive workload can cause burnout, inadequate support, inefficient environment, loss of autonomy and flexibility. You know, when all those electronic medical records came and the government started making so many regulations, we physicians felt completely like powerless, like there's nothing we can do, everything they're telling us what to do, how to run our practice. Even big organizations, they tell you how many patients you need to see, you know, how many, etc. You know, so we felt loss of autonomy, and a lot of people at that time, you know, left medicine. They went into administration, or they got burnout and changed completely, like I did, completely changed career. So. And sometimes it's challenges with work-life integration, you know. When I was at the top of my practice, I used to work 14, 15 hours a day. And of course, I didn't have enough time for my family. I come home irritated or upset, and that was not really helpful. I'm glad at the time, you know, I was aware of it and started taking more time off to be able to balance that. So, this is a little bit complicated, and I don't know if you can see the details, but this is well-being versus engagement. You know, if you're very engaged in your job, but you're not taking good care of yourself, you're on the low curve here. It's like a hamster running in a wheel. At one time you're going to get exhausted. You said, I've had enough, and although you had high productivity at the time, but you're going to end up burn out. If you take good care of yourself, but you don't have any engagement or any something to look forward to, or any vision for your future, or qualities you want to nurture, but although you feel good, you take good care of yourself, you're going to feel bored at one point, and you're going to say, okay, what's the point? And I felt that way the first 3 months I retired. It's like, no, not the first 3 months. The first 3 months I was fine, I was happy, I was relaxed, didn't have any responsibility, I didn't have to worry about anything. I slept late, did watch TV every night, read, whatever. But after 3 months I started feeling bored. Okay, so what's next? What am I going to do now? So that's when I started getting more active with mindfulness and coaching and things like that. So this is important. Now, if you take this was when you don't take good care of yourself. If you take good care of yourself and you're still not very engaged, then I'm so comfortable. Why put any more effort? And I felt this way sometimes. Like I'm so comfortable. Why should I worry about what to do next? I'd rather stay not doing anything. But after a while, I got really bored. So what's important is when you take good care of yourself and you're productive, in a way not to reach burnout because you are taking good care of yourself. That's when you feel proud about your contribution. It was hard work, but we achieved good results. You work as a team. You have a support group. So it is important to take care of yourself, have a vision, and have a support group. Does that make sense, or it's still confusing? So resilience. So how do you define resilience? What do you think resilience is? We're going to like a definition. What do you think is the definition of resilience?
Being able to bounce back with whatever happens.
Yes, being able to bounce back with whatever happens. I like that. Bouncing back is important. So some people have resilience, by nature, by maybe the way they were raised or something. Some people have great resilience. I remember when I was young, I didn't have good resilience. Every time I had a problem, it took me like several weeks to recover from it. So bouncing back is important. So resilience is the ability of an individual to respond to stress in a healthy, adaptive way, such that personal goals are achieved at minimal psychological and physical cost. So when you're under stress, it's important to manage your stress in a healthy way, so at least you don't suffer, physically, emotionally, or mentally. Because if you don't manage your stress well, you can get sick physically, you can have mental illnesses, a lot of other problems. So it's the ability to respond to stress in a healthy way, adaptive way, such that personal goals are achieved with minimal psychological and physical cost. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it means that you have the ability to bounce back, whether physically, emotionally, or mentally. So people who experience burnout usually are withdrawn, emotionally exhausted, like we said, depressed, rigid. Sometimes they don't want to listen, and most of the physicians don't ask for help, and that's why there is a high rate of burnout. And probably a lot of providers in the healthcare profession also experience that. People who have resilience are more present. They realize and are aware of their emotions, of what's going on. they have more energy to do whatever they need to do. They're accepting, Acceptance doesn't mean you agree with the other person, but you accept who they are, and like we said before. And they have a capacity for positivity, so they're still using positive thoughts, positive images, and so they can become stronger. So the burnout to engagement continuum is like when you're exhausted, you feel inefficient, it's like you're going toward burnout. So you need to become aware of that and start getting more motivated, getting more dedicated, using mindfulness, a lot of other things you can use for. So how can you prevent burnout? Create emotional and mental resilience. So resilience is important to prevent burnout. Determine your values, and we worked on that. We worked on values. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Practice work-life integration. So always take care of your family and don't neglect your family because your work is demanding. And my kids, two of my kids want to go to medical school, although I didn't encourage them. And so the first thing I told them, you need to take good care of yourself before you go to medical school. So from now, before even you start medical school, you need to learn the skills to take care of yourself, have fun, be of service. You don't have to be studying all the time, because when I was a medical student, we used to study all the time. We didn't have a lot of fun, and it was. And I knew at the time we could have had fun and still do well, but we didn't know that. We didn't know better. So clarify your purpose and begin a practice of mindfulness, always helpful. Now, what organizations can do, because a lot of people can experience burnout because their boss is mean to them, their colleagues are not supportive, they don't get enough, they don't get paid enough, they don't have a wellness program in the organization. So a lot of organizations now in the last few years are getting more and more aware, especially healthcare organization. And also other organizations who do not have anything to do with healthcare are starting wellness programs for their employees and starting mindfulness programs and things like that. Professional coaching for executive, manager, and staff. So now everybody, who is an executive is having their own coach, and so managers are having their own coach to be able to manage better, their work-life integration. Wellness program, like we said, provide training, communication skills, active listening, like we just did, and share a vision to enhance meaning at work. And that's why it's important to create your mission statement and also to know what the mission statement of your organizations, so you can work, to integrate that mission organizations also within you. And we have a different program for doing your own mission statement later on. So what are the 4 levels of resilience? What do you think there are? Awareness, yeah. It's like the same level of self-care. What do we talked about? Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So it's the same with resilience. We need to have physical resilience. It's the ability to recover quickly from illness. Some people recover from illness, very well. Some people don't, because they take better care of themselves. They have better immune system. And meditation, mindfulness, all that improves your immune system. Also, there are some spiritual qualities of resilience that we're going to see at the end, which also improve your immune system and make you more resilient to stress. Active health lifestyle, of course, healthy eating, adequate sleep, good relationships, self-care are all going to create physical resilience for yourself. And you're going to have a chance in a minute to do your self-care plan. based on those. So mental resilience is the ability to maintain focus in the midst of stress. You know, if you're working, let's say, in the emergency room, and there are a lot of things going on. You know, this room, people are having heart attack. The other room, they have a trauma. I mean, you know, as a physician in the emergency room, or as a nurse, or a nurse practitioner, or a provider, you need to keep that focus, you know, and not get, you know, anxious about the stress or get lost, you know, when you're under stress. And that's why it's important to learn mindfulness, because it helps you keep that focus. Okay, I'll take care of this problem first because that's the most urgent. Then I can go to this room, you know, because that's the next, etc., etc. So it keeps clarity and focus with your decisions. So self-confidence is important. Also, mindfulness creates self-confidence. So that's important because to be able to run an emergency department, you have to be self-confident and learn, you know, how to prioritize and tell, you know, this person to do this person to do this, etc. So emotional resilience is the experience of positive emotions, and we talked enough about that, how we can ourselves create our positive emotions, our positive affirmations to keep us to bounce back, you know, and keep going. Because if we get angry and upset and just sit down and don't do anything about it because we're upset, you know, and we get anxious and depressed, it's not going to help us. So it's okay to get anxious. It's okay to, you know, get upset, but it's important to just bounce back, say, okay, you know, how am I going to respond to that? What is my next step to make the situation better? So that's important. And like you said, you know, awareness and self-awareness are part of emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence had like 5 steps. One is being aware of your own emotions. Second is managing your own emotions. Third is being aware of emotions of others and managing them. So those are very important, and like all about emotions. And the more you are aware and manage your emotions better, the higher your EQ is going to be. EQ is your emotional quotient, which is more important than IQ for people to be successful in life. So when I first heard this, I was surprised. So EQ is more important than IQ for success in life. Because with EQ, you can talk to people better, you can negotiate better, you can you know, make better deals, I guess. So that's why you have more success. And spiritual resilience, which a lot of people don't talk about, and I think is very important, is the ability to maintain a higher meaning, you know, and selfless perspective despite facing adversity. And a lot of people have spiritual resilience. You know, there is a lot of research done by Harold Koenig at Duke University, which is not very far from here. And it showed, he studied people who have faith, or people who go regularly attend, you know, religious services. And he found out that people who have faith or attend regular services have less admissions to hospital, they're healthier, they live like 5 or 6 years longer than people who don't. So there is a power of faith somewhere, and it helps with spiritual resilience. And the resilience is not only about religious practices. There are a lot of qualities which can create spiritual resilience. And there are like at least 3 or 4 of them that we have named in the last week and this week. Anybody could remember any? Meditation. Meditation could help. Could help. I mean, meditation is more like an action. I'm asking about equality. But yeah, it does help. It does help, because the more you meditate, the more you're aware of what's going on within yourself, and of course it will create spiritual resilience. Okay, so gratitude, okay, so that's spiritual ingredients of resilience. Compassion is one quality of spiritual resilience. I call them spiritual, because acceptance, meaning, forgiveness, service, all those in my book can create spiritual resilience, because the more you're loving toward yourself and others, the more you're a spiritual person. You're compassionate about yourself and others, you're a spiritual person. So a spiritual person is not only someone who does practice religious practices. Spiritual person is someone who has gratitude. If you're grateful every day to the small things in your life, that creates spiritual resilience. If you forgive yourself and others, repeatedly, sometimes we have things we've done in the past we are not proud about, and we still keep that thing. We don't forgive ourselves easily. So the most important thing you can do to yourself is to forgive yourself. And of course, there's a whole program on just self-forgiveness, which takes time, and it takes a more intimate group to be able to practice those skills with a little bit more depth. But it's good to know that these are also spiritual ingredients.